Love doesn't hurt. People who don't know how to love do. Tone Gaskins, there's a kind of love that doesn't break you all at once. It kills you slowly, silently. No one sees you falling apart. No one knows how many times you've had to fake being okay. You become patient. You become understanding. You become low maintenance. All just to hold on to someone you're not even sure wants to stay. Every time they pull away, you try to understand. Every time they go cold, you blame yourself. And every time they come back with just enough sweetness, you convince yourself it's still love. But here's the truth. The worst pain isn't being abandoned. It's abandoning yourself to keep someone else. This isn't love. This is survival inside an unsafe relationship. If you've ever had to choose between loving someone and not losing yourself, then this video is for you. This is not another emotional explosion drenched in tears like before. It is a chilling moment of stillness, a cold jolt that shatters the fragile illusions you've painstakingly built from hope and faith. In that split second, there are no shouts, no tears rolling down a pillow, only an overwhelming silence, as if the entire world holds its breath to witness your moment of decision. Suddenly, you realize this isn't the first time you've endured this pain, but it's the first time you see it with crystal clarity, bathed in the light of reason rather than flickering in the triumph of your heart. Survival instinct, the one you've always tucked away under love and hope, slowly surges to the forefront, stronger than ever before. It doesn't yell accusations or harbor resentment. It simply draws out the scales of justice, placing every ounce of loss, every wound, every sacrifice you've offered on one side to weigh the worth of the relationship. And the verdict, heavy and undeniable, is clear. All your patience, every effort to endure, every unconditional forgiveness you thought was proof of love has been nothing but raw material for the avoidant partner to exploit, sustaining their habit of withdrawing instead of fostering true connection. In that instant, you feel the difference. Previously, the pain came from their absence during your storms, from turning away coldly when you needed a shoulder, from their presence that was invisible, cruelly distant. You embraced all of it, believing that someday a love strong enough would break down every wall. But now, you see no wall, only yourself trading peace and dignity to keep open a door long sealed shut. This awakening is no gift. It is the bitter fruit of hope betrayed. You suddenly understand that hope isn't the yeast that ferments a relationship into something vibrant. It can be the very ferment that blinds you to reality. From now on, whenever your heart bleeds at their silence, you won't blame yourself anymore, for you have learned. It isn't that you weren't enough, but that the relationship wasn't safe enough. And for the first time, you observe their indifference with the eyes of a stranger, someone who no longer has feelings to be wounded, but sees only absurdity and cold desolation. The greatest shock isn't realizing they can't love you as you need. It's realizing you once loved yourself so poorly that you were willing to endure that indifference. In that moment, you don't scream or cry. You shrink inward, stepping back from memories, once sweet but now petrified, and tell yourself the simplest truth. I no longer want this, not because you hate them, but because you deeply love yourself. And so you stop. You stop explaining. You stop apologizing. You stop waiting for any signal. Instead, you turn inward, examining your own heart scars, forgotten dreams, the boundaries you crossed to maintain a relationship you couldn't save. Your self-respect now forbids you to bow again, because this is when you realize preserving yourself is more crucial than any unsafe bond. This is the breaking point of blind faith. It is quiet, yet unwavering. It is unromantic, yet honors truth. Most importantly, it places you back in control of your life, rather than as a puppet to ever-shifting emotions. This is the final moment you languish in the avoidance hide-and-seek game. From here on, you walk forward, awakened by survival instinct, ready to rebuild a life grounded in dignity and safety. And once you've relinquished the final veil of hope, driven purely by survival instinct, you step into clarity and emotional detachment, an irreversible turning point where you begin to see through everything and truly let go. You suddenly realize that what you once heralded as pure love were nothing but invisible shackles. Unconditional love isn't noble, it's permission to be exploited. You gave everything without insisting on fair return. Understanding isn't a bridge, it's blind endurance, convincing you to accept hollow apologies or heartless silence. Hope isn't a guiding light, it's illusion, a thin veneer that glosses over every act of disrespect. Every time they withdrew in a crisis, you forgave them. Every time they distanced themselves on important occasions, a party, a project they promised to support, an unexpected health scare, you made excuses. They must be busy, or they need space. But the final act vanishing when you needed them most, responding with cold indifference, or making unilateral decisions affecting both your lives without a word, was the last straw that shattered the last illusion. You pause and examine the shards, asking yourself, what was I enduring? For the first time, the answer isn't because I love them, but because I feared loneliness, failure, and that empty void inside. That's when true clarity dawns, not just intellectually, but as a heart suddenly illuminated. Clarity is when you learn to separate your emotions from theirs. You observe without knee-jerk reactions. When they go silent, you don't frantically text them when they send mixed signals. You don't launch a psychological investigation. You recognize their behavior reflects their own wounds, not your worth. From here, you adopt 3 steps to maintain emotional detachment. Observe without judgment. Their actions, withdrawal, silence, or half-hearted reconciliations become data you record without filling your empty heart. Control your breath and emotions. You focus on your breathing and heartbeat, letting waves of anger, sadness, or disappointment dissipate instead of erupting. Set clear boundaries. When they encroach on your new safe zone, your refusal to endure you, calmly but firmly hold the line. I'll talk when you can respect my presence, or I'm not ready to discuss this decision. These acts may feel strange or even harsh compared to your old self. But in this detachment, you rediscover inner strength. They try to push you away to see if you'll chase them. You don't. They dangle sweet bait. You don't bite. They leak remorse. You don't fling open your heart prematurely. Each act of calm resolve fortifies your self-worth. You deserve fair treatment, not emotional begging. During clarity and emotional detachment, you also discover that the very pain that once broke you now serves as training for emotional self-mastery. Anger no longer detonates within. It tolls like a warning bell when you stray beyond your boundaries. Tears cease to mark failure. They become badges of authenticity, proof you felt deeply before choosing to let go. Ultimately, you see that true love isn't infinite endurance. It demands mutual investment, shared responsibility, and the ability to hold each other's emotions fully. You refuse to fill the endless void on their side, and so you move forward quietly, resolute, clear-hearted, yet unyielding, ready for the next chapter. Healing. Once clarity has etched itself into your mind as an undeniable truth, and you've mastered detaching your emotions from their behavior, the next natural step is the quiet exit, a wordless, unannounced choice, yet one that carries life-altering power. Toi, the quiet exit. You don't shout, you don't curse, and you don't fling accusations. You issue no ultimatums, no dramatic forever goodbyes if they don't change. Instead, you simply stop investing emotionally. All the thoughts about deciphering why they withdraw, whether they're busy, stressed, or testing, you gradually vanish from your mental map. You no longer reread old messages for clues. Spend hours mending your wounds by asking, wasn't I kind enough? You no longer play the role of their healer, nor piece together explanations for their disappearances in your moments of greatest need. Practically, you begin adjusting your daily life, canceling plans that involve them, shifting your hobbies toward pursuits just for you or new friends, even creating living spaces where the avoidance seems non-existent. You reorganize your bedroom, drawers, calendar, erasing the traces of expectations you once stored there. You pose the simple but decisive question, do I really need them in my life every day? And the resounding answer is no. Emotionally, you allow yourself to detach piece by piece. When longing sweeps in, you don't accept it as destiny, you treat it as a passing wind, letting it blow through and dissipate. When loneliness knocks, You don't frantically call them. You reach out to other relationships, family, friends, community, to fill the void. Each time you release what seems like a falter, you straighten your spine again, telling yourself, I deserve peace, not this cycle of withdrawals and returns. Gradually, you realize the quiet exit is how you safeguard your heart. Once you believed silence meant defeat, in reality, silence is how you use reason and self-respect to tell yourself, I won't let anyone wander in and out of my life at will. This final boundary you draw stands firmer than any promises they ever made. During this process, you also witness the avoidance culture shock, their confusion when no longer met with chasing, begging, or pleading. They might resort to old tactics, a sudden declaration, a half-hearted text, even an unexpected appearance. But you no longer wait. You no longer respond, and that silence wields tremendous pressure. There is nowhere left for them to return, and nothing left to manipulate. Day by day, you delve deeper into your own life, a life no longer contingent on anyone unwilling to co-create the future. The quiet exit is not merely a negation. It's the clearest declaration of self-worth and the commitment to preserve it. You advance to a new threshold where any future relationship must meet criteria of respect, shared responsibility, and mutual emotional investment. No applause rings out, yet you feel an inner force propelling you. The quiet exit reminds you that silence can echo louder than any scream, and from that silence, you build a life of safety, dignity, and the genuine capacity to love. Having executed the quiet exit, you find yourself at a pivotal juncture, the power reversal. Once, the avoidant partner manipulated your emotions, your chasing, pleading, and compromises fueled their sense of control. But now, with your silence and detachment, they are left reeling, unsure how to proceed. 4. The power reversal. For so long, the avoidant has followed a predictable script. You chase when they withdraw, you plead when they go silent, you compromise when they withhold. This pattern granted them the power to dictate your heart and the relationship's tone. But now, when you decisively stop, they are caught off guard. Without your reactions to validate them, they lose the remote control they once wielded effortlessly. A sense of helplessness and confusion takes over. In the initial moments of reversal, they may hesitate, looking at you as if in disbelief. Why aren't you reacting? Why so silent? Why don't I hear you crying out anymore? This bewilderment is your signal that the power dynamic has shifted. The relationship, once a one-sided affair, becomes a field where both must learn new moves. Unable to accept the loss of advantage, they will often attempt to revive the old cycle. First, they'll tug at heartstrings by recalling fond memories, a text about a shared trip, an old video you once posted together, or a heartfelt compliment. The aim is not genuine connection, but to test whether you'll still notice and rush back in. If you remain silent, they might escalate to faux crises. Vague posts hinting at work stress, cryptic social media statuses, or a midnight call lamenting loneliness, all designed to activate your caretaking instincts. When that fails, they move to the final gambit. A sudden surge of affection, a surprise bouquet, a 4 a.m. I miss you text, or an unannounced romantic dinner, each intended to reignite the chase. Pursue cycle, but you have transcended waiting for them. You no longer respond. You don't accept the bouquet right away. You don't reply to the early morning text. You don't rearrange your schedule for their surprise dinner. Your silence in these moments serves as a mirror, reflecting back every manipulative tactic they deploy. They look in and realize there is no longer a switch to turn you on. That helplessness opens a new door. To truly reconnect, they must change their entire approach. They may panic as they contemplate self-awareness, or they may choose to evade and lose you forever. Throughout this reversal of power, you needn't utter a word. Each time you maintain your silence, each time you withhold the old reactions, each time you move forward with your life, you send a potent message. I deserve respect and genuine reciprocity, not emotional games. This message, not flowery words or threats, rebalances the relationship. You come to understand the value of purposeful silence. It creates the space that compels the other to face themselves. They can no longer hide behind old behaviors. They must ask themselves, am I willing to show up authentically? Do I want to sustain this relationship with sincerity? If yes, they will learn to approach you in ways that honor your worth through respect, equitable sharing, and long-term commitment. If not, they will only repeat the futile patterns and eventually lose you. And that, in itself, is the greatest victory. You haven't just protected yourself, you've offered both of you a chance for the relationship to transform genuinely or to end definitively. After the power reversal and steadfast silence, you begin to realize that not only the relationship has shifted, but you have undergone a profound transformation. This is no longer about controlling the other person. It is the journey of rebuilding your inner world, proving that walking away is not just an ending, but the start of a stronger, more secure version of yourself. 5. The inner shift. The anxious partner once believed that boundless patience and unconditional sacrifice measured true love. Yet through painful lessons from the shock of deliberate silence, breaking the attachment cycle to watching the avoidant flounder in confusion, you gradually achieve what experts call earned security. This is not an innate state, but the fruit of inner resilience. You have walked through suffering, understood your own limits, and learned to center yourself in your life. Previously, every cold retreat triggered anxiety. Every return felt like an addictive hit of emotional warmth. Now, you have mastered affect regulation. When uncertainty arises, a callous text, a forced apology, or an unexplained absence, you don't panic. Instead, you let your emotions ebb and flow, using mindful breathing to soothe yourself and turning inward for comfort. A brief meditation, a good book, or a call with a trusted friend. This self-mastery leads you to 3 core realizations. Love need not be a battlefield. True love isn't a tug of war between needs and fears. No one should fight for every crumb of affection. Losing yourself to keep someone else is a sign of imbalance, not proof of love. True love does not conflict with peace. Love doesn't require inner turmoil. When you approach love with serenity, you create a space of mutual respect and safety. Peace doesn't dilute love. It builds the stable foundation for lasting connection. No one is worth losing yourself for. There was a time you wondered, is this sacrifice worth it? Now you answer, nothing is more valuable than your own worth. Sacrifice doesn't guarantee lasting love without reciprocity. Placing yourself on the scale shows that preserving your dignity and self-respect outweighs any unhealthy bond. During the inner shift, you no longer fear loneliness, having discovered an inner wellspring of security. You no longer wait for someone else's reaction to know your worth. Instead, you prove your value through actions, self-care, clear boundaries, and moving forward with the conviction that authentic love always stems from inner safety. Thus, as you step into the next chapter, healing, you carry not only the scars of your past, but also the triumph of growth. For no matter what the future holds, you have learned to love without losing yourself, to let go without regrets, and to find peace even when alone. Having undergone profound inner transformation, you arrive at the final chapter, the permanent departure. This is not merely a breakup. It is a declaration of your self-worth and an unbreachable boundary. 6. The permanent departure. Every journey has an endpoint, and for the awakened anxious partner, this one is quiet yet resolute. Even if you encounter them again, or they attempt to return with heartfelt apologies, sweet gestures, or grand reconciliation plans, you are no longer the same person. You have been reshaped by experience, matured by lessons, and guarded by boundaries you set yourself. You no longer accept an imbalanced attachment. You may have once forgiven countless times when they left you alone, trading those moments for brief make-up niceties. But now you understand imbalance is a sign of a flawed system, not true love. You recognize that giving unilaterally empties your spirit. You no longer hope to change the avoidant with one-sided love. Though you once believed unconditional love could break down their walls, you now see only genuine determination and change from them truly matters. You no longer wait for miracles without mutual effort. This departure is permanent emotionally, even if you maintain casual contact. You might exchange polite messages or offer well wishes for their future, but deep inside, you close that inner door forever. No space for vacillations of hope or fear. You keep a distance safe enough not to be drawn back in. You reinvest in yourself, nurturing personal passions, strengthening supportive relationships, and building a foundation for an independent future. Every act of self-care, every new goal you set reinforces your choice to leave. You don't return out of fleeting longing or fear of solitude. You move forward with the mindset, I deserve better. The avoidant may attempt final outreach, invoking guilt or sweet memories to pull you back, but you don't answer fruitless calls, reread old messages, or afford any chance for the relationship to slip back. You know that even sincere attempts without sustained change are fleeting. The permanent departure also serves as a final test. If they truly value you, they must re-enter your life in a new way with commitment, partnership, and the ability to stay present without withdrawing. If not, you will quietly cross life's crossroads, never looking back. Ultimately, the greatest gift you receive is inner freedom, the ability to live fully as yourself, unbound by others' needs or fears. You open a new chapter, one in which love is founded on safety, respect, and peace. And though this journey is challenging, you have no regrets. You chose to live by your values, protecting your heart by permanently letting go of what isn't worthy. That is the ultimate victory, when you not only depart, but do so with self-respect and serenity intact. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end. It means the world that you've taken the time to explore this journey from the breaking point of emotional exhaustion, through clarity, quiet exit, power reversal, inner transformation, and finally to the permanent departure. You're not alone in this process. Every step you take towards self-respect and healthy connection is a triumph worth celebrating. If any part of today's video resonated with you, whether it was the moment you first recognized your own worth, the strength you discovered in stillness, or the freedom of choosing yourself, please leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, your breakthroughs, or even your struggles. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs to take their next courageous step. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when we dive into more insights on attachment, self-worth, and building relationships rooted in safety and mutual respect. I'm committed to bringing you research-backed guidance, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies to support your growth. Remember, every decision you make in favor of your peace and dignity is a declaration that you deserve more love, more respect, more genuine connection. Keep trusting your journey, allow yourself to heal, and know that a healthier, more empowered you is always within reach. Thank you, truly, for being here. I can't wait to continue this path of healing and growth with you. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.